RPG Lessons Learned. When the game is over, when your players are gone, that's when lessons are learned. Find us online at rpgllpodcast.com, email us at rpgllpodcast@gmail.com, and find us on Blue Sky at rpgll.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to another spooky episode of RPG Lessons Learned, the show where you can learn from our mistakes. Enter if you dare to find your regular crypt master, Dusty. Dusty, how's it going?
Tanner, I'm doing well. Yourself?
I'm doing good, and I'm Howard Phillips Tanner, and we're talking about H.P. Lovecraft's Call of Cthulhu role-playing game that Dusty is playing with his great off-screen GM Martin and his group. So Dusty, I just want to say first off, you know, a lot of people are like, "Oh, I wish I could play with Matt Mercer. I want to play with Critical Role. I want to play at Martin's game from the way that you've described it. I'm so jealous that I don't get to." So Dusty, you've been playing Call of Cthulhu with Martin, and he's running it?
He is running it, yes.
How is that going? Tell me the setup.
Really well. It's so different from fantasy games, and people like to talk about how quote unquote lethal old school D&D is. Dude, it can't hold a candle to Call of Cthulhu.
Yeah, so you're playing the basic role play, or BRP, right? Call of Cthulhu, the D100s.
Arguably, Call of Cthulhu came first before BRP. Right. BRP is where they took like
the generic version. Yeah.
Yes, they took Sandy Peterson's Call of Cthulhu and they used it to make some other games like RuneQuest. And I think there was a game based on the Eternal Champion. What's that guy called? Elric.
Yep.
The Michael Moorcock Elric series. Yes, I think there was a D100 around that, and then it became kind of BRP, the generic version. But yes, it's all the same skill-based D100. You know, you have a 47% chance of doing this, and you roll your 2d10 to see if you roll under 47 to see if you do it. It's all that system. Call of Cthulhu, RuneQuest, BRP.
Which is, from what I understand, like the most popular way to play role-playing games in Japan. I have friends who live in Japan. I need to ask them this. But we've talked a little bit before, I don't know if it was on mic, about the crazy Japanese Call of Cthulhu modules. And I remember when I was a kid reading the Yu-Gi-Oh manga. Okay, remember Yu-Gi-Oh? You know,
I do.
Guy with the cards and stuff. They had a side arc where they were playing a role-playing game. I only knew of D20 games, but every time they rolled dice in there, they were rolling a D100. You know, they were rolling tens places and one places on D10s. And I thought, whoa, Yu-Gi-Oh invented a whole new way to play role-playing games. But I realize now that they were getting that from how popular Call of Cthulhu was in Japan, which is based on the game that obviously you've been playing lately.
Yes, disclaimer, I have never been to Japan, but I have watched YouTube videos and read articles online that claim that Call of Cthulhu is the most popular role-playing game in Japan. And yes, I love the translated modules Poisoned Soup, and I think it's called Who is the Swamp Man? That some online creator has translated these fan-created Call of Cthulhu adventures in Japan into English for us to see how Call of Cthulhu is enjoyed. But yeah, Call of Cthulhu, apparently super popular in Japan.
I know for a fact that we have at least one listener in Japan, my best friend, and she will be able to tell me if this is true or not.
Oh, I want to go to Japan and I want to buy a Call of Cthulhu adventure in kanji, in Japanese. And now I will not be able to read it.
Great thing to have on the shelf, though.
But I just want it on the shelf. And that's not an invitation for you to have your friend send it to me. The fun of it would be going there and picking it out myself as my souvenir I bring back. So that's on my bucket list.
Awesome. So are you playing this one-on-one, or are you playing this with a group with Martin?
As usual, we are playing with Martin's brother. And just like we do, or just like we have done in OSE and Osric and Castles and Crusades, we are each playing two characters. So I'm playing two characters, Bernard's playing two characters, and Martin has two GM PCs, as he frequently does, as we've discussed in the past. But again, he does it very artfully, and he never drives the plot. But, you know, if Bernard and I are both like fightery types, Martin's like, they need a cleric.
Yeah.
And he will roll up a cleric.
True experts know when to break the rules, right? That's one of those those situations. We've talked about that at length with Martin's game. So what kind of game is he running? Is he running a completely original story, or is he basing it on, do you know, I guess, if he's basing it on other adventures?
I don't actually know. Maybe a listener can tell us. I did not ask Martin about the origin of the game, but I'll tell you the rough plot.
Sure.
It's the American West post-Civil War, and all 6 player characters, my 2, Martin's brothers 2, and Martin's 2, are friends of this guy named Hieronymus. And Hieronymus has a silver mine over the border of Texas and Mexico. And we've traveled there to discover Hieronymus dead, frankly, in his silver mine and mummified. And then we stumble across a Cthulhu-esque artifact, and we have to deal with a bunch of stuff in town, including cultists who want the artifact, some zombies that were accidentally created by the artifact, and then a totally unrelated, like chupacabra type cryptid that's also wreaking havoc in and around this small town. And we're also like trying to get the silver mine going so we can like make money, because we start off with, we arrive in this town in Mexico with almost no money to be able to do stuff or be respected in the town.
I didn't think I could be more jealous of this game until you described the setting, Dusty. Holy cow. I'm such a dork in enthusiasm, not in knowledge, for Old West history and stuff like that. And I know that you've talked in past about the verisimilitude that Martin brings to his settings and his worlds and stuff. And I can only imagine that if he's drawing from real history, it's got to be like a whole level up from that. Yeah.
Yes, I mean, the verisimilitude is there. Some of his NPCs speak only Spanish.
Does he speak Spanish? Does he just like speak Spanish at you?
Dude, Martin, he knows enough that I don't think I would not call him fluent in Spanish. He is fluent in German, Russian, and English.
Oh,
so Martin is one of those people that like picks up languages, and he is like seriously fluent. Like did semesters abroad.
Wow.
In Russia, and his family is German. So he is fluent in those 3 languages. But he knows enough Spanish to realistically portray his NPCs
as not understanding you,
as not understanding us. And we're like, damn it. And I'm relying on my personal, like Dusty's personal high school Spanish.
Yeah.
To try to get by. And like, we're not allowed to use Google Translate. It's a lot of fun.
That's so good, man. So, this is a horror game, right? And we talked in our last episode about setting expectations in session zeros. I would guess that you guys did not have a session 0 because you guys have been playing together for a long time, and it seems like you guys know each other's boundaries. What's the what movie would you compare this to? What's the rating of this campaign in terms of objectionable content for minors?
There is never ever any sexual content in Martin's games. Like we all just agree that that's not why we're sitting around the table. So none of that. As far as the level of violence, I don't think any of us are too into describing gore, but death is always right around the corner. So I would say not quite a slasher flick, like a Jason style slasher flick. Gosh, help me think, Tanner. Is there a movie that's like a noir detective thing that has elements of the supernatural? You know what? Maybe Bram Stoker's Dracula. It's about the level of horror of Bram Stoker's Dracula.
Gotcha. That's a great level, frankly, for any game to be at. And yeah, so Call of Cthulhu, I think it kind of comes with some assumptions, at least certainly if you read the rule books, that it's more, obviously it's more about the cosmic stuff than it is about like gratuitous depictions of anything, right? Like the assumption is that your characters are seeing that, and that's why they go bonkers, rather than the GM having to like include that in the game. Does that make sense?
It does, yeah. And we made quite a few, and I know how ableist this can sound, but it's a mechanic of the game, so go with me. Sanity rolls.
Yep.
I mean, the artifact that we found this really strange silver, a tunnel, system of tunnels underneath the silver mine. And clearly the artifact's been there for millennia. And I don't really know, like there's a lot of really weird stuff in the silver mine that we think the artifact was incidentally causing just by its presence. Mm-hmm. Kind of a Hideous Daylight type situation. None of it was like things we had to fight.
Gotcha.
Just like weird crystallized trees that we're walking past, and like weird lakes of sulfuric acid, and like stuff like that. And this one room that was incredibly hot, and we had to like figure out how to tie, wet stuff, wet clothing around it to make it through this incredibly hot. Anyway, and then we finally get the artifact, and the artifact is like this featureless silver cube with one glass port. And the one time like we messed with it and kind of lost sanity is when we looked through the port and there was a giant eyeball, impossibly big. Like you're not looking. It's not like you're looking into the box. It's like you're looking through the box out into space.
Oh yeah.
And a giant eyeball saw us, and we all made sanity rolls, and we fought cultists who wanted this thing, and it was a ton of fun.
How talk to me about the lethality of the game. I guess how are people meeting their end?
Yes. I love skill-based RPGs, and I really like Call of Cthulhu because we got into a lot of gunfights.
And by skill-based, you mean specifically your character is defined by a skill list of like how good you are at lockpicking, mechanics, electronics, that kind of stuff.
And you don't level up, but you do progress. And the way you progress is you mark any skills that you succeed on during the game. And at the end of the game, or at the beginning of the next game, you can roll. And if you roll your percentile dice higher than your skill, you get to raise that skill by, I think it's 1d6 points. So you're constantly like getting better and better at stuff as you do it. So that's what I mean by skill-based. And we're having gunfights because, again, it's the Wild West. And one of my characters was a former Union soldier during the war who was quite good with rifles, but terrible with handguns. And how lethal is it? We almost died several times. No player character actually died, but mostly because Martin's brother and I played very conservatively.
Okay.
Very careful. Like we took death very seriously. We took combat very seriously. We were using cover at every opportunity. We were firing from behind stuff. We were doing a lot of running away to what we said in our podcast last episode.
It's a little bit more Deadwood than it is spaghetti western.
Yes. It's not Clint Eastwood. It's it's Silverado. Like main characters can die and will die.
That's awesome. Are you playing this game as you, Dusty, or are you playing this game as your characters? Because I think one of the considerations when you have multiple player characters is that you kind of have to take a more detached point of view, and it's more, to me, it would seem more like Dusty is controlling his avatars in the world rather than if you had a group of 6 people, Dusty would get really into his one character. Is that assumption correct?
I was not playing as myself, but yes, your assumption's right. You do find yourself more abstracted from your characters, and you find yourself asking, you have to ask. You can't default to what would I do. You have to ask what would Charlie do or what would Timothy do. My 2 characters were Timothy Daltrey, based on my favorite James Bond, Timothy Dalton. If you disagree, come at me.
Was he the Living Daylights?
Yes, he was, and License to Kill. Seriously, he's my very favorite James Bond. I think of all the celebrities I could meet and be starstruck by, Timothy Dalton would be like number 1. I wouldn't know what to say.
That's awesome.
Like I could meet Daniel Craig and be like, whatever. I probably wouldn't even say hello. I feel like I was bugging him. But if I ran into Timothy Dalton, it would be bad.
Well, Dusty, I've prepared a very exciting surprise for this episode. Timothy Dalton.
Oh my God, no, you didn't.
No, he's busy today.
No, yes, of course. So I played him like, what would what would Timothy Dalton's James Bond, who lived in a very lethal world, like those were 2 of the more realistic James Bond movies.
Yeah.
How would he navigate the situation and some social stuff? Like he was always playing one guy off the other. And then Charlie Dodger was my Union veteran, kind of my former soldier. And I played him very much like a Lonesome Dove type character. He's got a strong ethical, moral, like cowboy code type compass.
I always have such respect for you anchoring your characters in celebrities, or famous characters from movies, whether we did with Bellic or when we played Legend of the Five Rings, you had Worf as your samurai. I think that is such a great cheat code in terms of like, obviously characters can evolve and stuff, but like it gives you a great center. And then you can explore from that center. What would Timothy Dalton's James Bond be like in, 1860s Texas, Mexico, if he ran into a chupacabra? Like those, I can tell that you get a lot of fun from creating those situations for yourself.
I do. And as I play with these 2 brothers, Martin and his brother, You would think when the party needs to split up that my two characters would go do something and Martin's brother's two characters would go do, but we don't. It's one
Is
of
it
mine and one
intentional?
of his. No. But as I'm saying this, it used to be my two characters and his two characters.
Yeah.
And in the last, I don't know, 5-6 years of playing together, it has become one of mine and one of his doing this, and then one of mine and one of his doing this. I just think we've gotten to know each other better and we gel better as a group.
Yeah, and that's one of those kind of unwritten things in terms of RPG advice, whether that comes from blogs or videos, or whether that comes from, how to run a game chapter in a book, that like really like 70% of the skill is like knowing who you're playing with in a lot of ways, which is obviously impossible to teach. But yeah, it can create great moments where if you split the party, hey, you're both there, which is awesome.
Do you want to hear how the campaign ended?
Oh, is it done? I thought you were still ongoing.
No. It might have been last time we spoke, but we have since played, I think, 2 sessions, and the campaign is now over. And here's
how many sessions total was it? Sorry,
3 or 4.
Okay, cool. So very manageable.
Yes, yeah, we've gotten to where we do that. We had one like 17, 15, whatever session campaign, but since then we do short stuff, like short forays. There's a lot of games we want to play together, but we take death so seriously because Call of Cthulhu is so lethal, and we were like, we were really imagining like what would these characters do? Like they wouldn't throw their lives away. The way the campaign ended is we lost the artifact to the cultists.
Oh no.
Yeah, we arguably, like, we had these weird encounters, we had this weird adventure, we learned some things about the artifact, we made sure we wrote those down for posterity. But ultimately, the artifact slipped through our fingers and wound up in the hands of the cultists. Now, they did succeed in summoning something, and it seems to have killed all of the cultists for us. That they knew not what they messed with.
Yeah.
But the artifact's also gone.
Oh
And
no.
I like to imagine that maybe 3 or 4 years from now, Martin's like, hey, we should play Call of Cthulhu again. Maybe we should play in the 20s. And I like to imagine that we might find this box again.
That would be
as
so
a different
cool.
set of characters. But yeah, we lost.
That is so excellent. Wow. And that's like so in fitting with the way that like Lovecraft stories can end, right? Like the bad guys can win and something bad can happen to them. And, it's not maybe the end of the world. Like it didn't happen here, but like, yeah, it got away from you. That I love how honest you guys can be with your games and your experiences, that can be a valid ending. Because a lot of GMs and a lot of groups, I don't think would let that be a valid ending. The GM would be like, okay. I mean, I certainly would be thinking, okay, well, the box got away from the players, but maybe, the story can become about this, and then the box can get back in their hands, and we can kind of keep going. But it's so refreshing that you guys are so trusting enough to be like, yeah, that was our story, right?
Martin is, I can't say he's completely uncompromising, because there are moments at the table where he's like, re-roll that.
Okay.
So he will be a little lenient sometimes, most particularly when he thinks it's unlikely that your character would have failed that bad. He's like, you're an ex-soldier, re-roll that rifle shot. He does that maybe once a session.
Okay.
So he'll be lenient. Other than that, though, other than maybe once a session where something is truly egregious, he is uncompromising, and it makes for a really unique and wonderful game that I love.
That's so cool, man. Did you ever get a behind the scenes look now that the campaign is over? Did he ever spill the beans on kind of what was going on, or does he keep that close to the chest even after the game?
He spilled a couple, like he here's what he told us. This thing was like looting bodies. And he did tell us, oh yeah, that was a chupacabra that was totally unrelated.
Interesting.
And then we were like, where'd the zombies come from? He's like, oh, the zombies are because of the artifact. Like the proximity like created, and Call of Cthulhu zombies, like you can't shoot them in the head and they're done.
Yeah,
like,
they're magical kind of. Yeah.
The entire thing is animated. You have to basically blow it apart to kill it. He kind of spilled the beans on some of that, but he did not give us, where did the artifact come from? Why was it in the mine? How long's it been in the mine? Where'd the artifact go? He didn't give us any of that. So as far as our characters in this Mexican town dealing with the situation, he told us some of the ancillary stuff, but as far as like the key relic / artifact, if that were to come up in another game 3, 4, 5 years from now in a later era with different characters, we would have nothing metagame to go on other than, what we experienced.
One of my dream campaigns that I've had written down in a Google Doc for almost 10 years now would be to do a Trail of Cthulhu game in a very similar way to maybe the way that this would go, where it would be about an artifact of some evil power, and the whole campaign would be revolving around the artifact, and the players would roll different characters for each session, or I'd provide them. The first session would be about like a bunch of Roman soldiers finding this thing in Gaul, and then the next session would be kind of like the medieval era, and then the next session would be about maybe like World War One or something like that, and then the final session would be like modern day or something like that, and be able to string together a cool story where this artifact is kind of the center of it each time. My challenge though would always be like, how do we keep from metagaming where like your players would know something about the past and stuff like that. So it would be cool if Martin figures out a way to do that, and if he does, you got to report back and let me know.
My idea for your game: make the player characters blatant reincarnations.
Oh, that'd be good.
And give them a certain number of like tokens, like 2 tokens a session. You are allowed to metagame.
That would be cool.
Twice a session.
Yeah.
Where you have a flash of insight from your and maybe for fun, make them reincarnations of each other's characters, not their own character.
Oh, and they swap around or rotate a little bit. Yeah, that'd be cool. That'd be cool. Well, awesome. So it doesn't sound like are you disappointed that it ended this way, or were you just kind of happy it happened?
In the moment, yes. Always in the moment, yes. Always in the moment, my baser self would like the instant gratification of getting the girl and being the good guy and getting all the treasure and living happily ever after. As we left, Martin's home to go have wings, which is our ritual. We play the game and then we have wings. As we left, yeah. I mean, did I feel disappointed? Yes. Did I feel like it was kind of a downer? Sure. But then my more enlightened self, not calling myself incompletely enlightened, folks at home, but my delayed gratification self says, God, it was so much richer and so much more interesting, and I'll think about it so much longer for so many more years because we didn't have the popcorn instant gratification. So was I disappointed in the moment? Yes. Looking back on it, am I? No.
That's a very mature outlook to have, and to be able to acknowledge that, yes, part of me wanted to, but and that's something that can kind of only come with not only being a mature person, but also being mature in your taste with your group, and knowing that everybody else at the table probably felt the same way to a certain extent, right?
I mean, it can only taste bittersweet if you let yourself taste the bitter.
So true. You miss every shot you don't take.
You miss every shot you don't take.
I think Confucius said that.
Yeah. Men who live in glass houses should undress in the basement.
That's damn true. That's what that poster on your wall says. I couldn't read it this whole time.
But no, in all seriousness, I don't know. I keep seeing these YouTube videos that are like, hey, we're in a comfort crisis. We're comforting ourselves to death. We're never doing anything uncomfortable. And I think like only consuming media with happy endings and satisfying endings can be a version of the same thing. I really enjoy the not cookie cutter endings that we have in Martin's very realistic, largely uncompromising campaigns.
I think we've kind of talked about that in a more oblique way in the past. I feel like I remember us having a conversation about how like role-playing games are awesome because they aren't these scripted, focus-tested types of stories, and you really value that, and I do too, obviously. So I think that's kind of maybe shades of the same kind of sentiment there, in terms of like these are unsafe, it sounds more dramatic and edgy, but in terms of media, like nobody would pick up the screenplay to the campaign you had, right? Sony would not make that movie.
That's true. What a great jaunt into a different system. And the way I would describe Call of Cthulhu, it's not that you completely avoid combat, but like if our characters are setting up an ambush and we're choosing the ground and we're choosing how combat starts, yeah, I'll engage in combat. If we're caught flat-footed and we have to give up the artifact or die in a blaze of glory, oh, you mean this artifact? Here you go.
Yeah, exactly.
And I love, it's tough to call it realistic when you have things like chupacabras and zombies in the game.
It's grounded, right?
It's more grounded. It's less reliant on, being the hero and battling your way out of every single situation. It tells you a good way to put it tells a different kind of story, and what a great palate cleanser, and what a great way to experience variety.
My final question is, imagine that I am your coworker, Dusty, and I'm saying, hey, I heard that you were playing in a Call of Cthulhu game. I played a little bit before, but I want to run a really cool Call of Cthulhu game. What lessons should I take from Martin's game and the way that you guys play to set up my own game for success?
I would say Call of Cthulhu takes place in a much more modern world. D&D emulates these sword and sorcery fantasy stories where the pureness of your heart will win the day. Call of Cthulhu takes place in a setting that's more like the Cowboys era or the 1920s era, where your skills will win the day or not, and lean into that.
And then what does Martin do so well that I can steal for my game?
It's that knowing when to compromise. Again, he's not totally uncompromising. There are times when he'll throw you a bone, but it's knowing when to be uncompromising in a way that might be unsatisfying in the moment, but that will enrich the game for so many years as you remember it.
That sounds great, man. I've got a lesson I learned from here. Real masters know when to break the rules. The rules exist for a reason. Obviously, me and you like playing by the rules, but I think we are both comfortable enough with our groups and at this point in our GMing career that we know when a rule is bent, when it would add to the game versus detract from the game. And I think Martin sounds like he knows that too.
Yeah, Martin he's a GM with GMPCs. He doesn't let us do whatever we want. He does not obey the rule of cool, and he's still an amazing GM.
Excellent. Anything you'd add? Any lessons you learned from this series of games?
A lesson that we often come back to: try different systems. If you're listening to this podcast because you're really in love with this one system, great, phenomenal, love that for you. Don't do it just because I say so, but I think if you're listening to this episode, you probably in your heart of hearts want to try something a little different. Try that new system.
Excellent. Well, we'll leave it at that. Thank you, everybody, for listening. Dusty, I really want to hear about your next game with Martin, so be sure to report back. You're my man in the field for this guy. I need to know. I need to write down his secrets.
We'll do it. We'll see if we can get him to play with you one day.
Oh, that'd be awesome. All righty, everybody. Thank you for listening.
People call them reviews, postmortems, retrospectives. We call them lessons learned, and we're sharing ours with you.